At this point, I'm ready to fit a muslin sloper to Morgan. I will be draping it on her. I've pinned the back together with a seam opening down the back. I establish the neck. This is good. See, the seam allowance makes the sloper come up a little bit higher, but the seam is 1/2 inch. So this will be a good neckline. I will go back and draw it with pencil so it's very obvious. I'm going to lay this muslin straight down, and because she's got this top on, it's a close-fitting top, now, I had Morgan wear the appropriate underwear that she will wear with a good blouse or dress. She's barefooted, and her garment is close-fitting, but it doesn't squeeze her in. So now what I'm going to do is I've pinned the neckline front and back. This particular sloper is going to have a shoulder dart. So turn this way just a little bit. What I want to do is this grain line, as you see, falls down from the apex. I want to keep this level with the parallel with the floor and bring all of this up into a shoulder dart. Now I've measured her shoulder at 4 3/4, and that's from right here to the edge. So 4 3/4, half of that is 2 3/8. I'm going to measure over 2 3/8, which is the middle of her shoulder, right there. Keeping the bust level, the apex level line parallel to the floor, I'm going to pull all of this fabric up into a dart. And the dart will go all the way to the apex. You will learn as we go through these lessons that you develop all your darts to the apex and then you shorten them. Make the darts a little bit shorter than the apex. I'm going to gauge about what this measurement is. Yeah, that's about right. That's about what I want. I took the span of her apex and I made lines parallel to the center front. I want to take a little bit of this armhole away so I can work with it. So what I'm going to do is have her hold her arm out just a little bit. I can look under there. I'd already established that side seam with the tape, which is a real help when you go to do your sloper. And I'm going to just pencil in approximately where I think that armhole is going to be, and then I'm going to cut it away. I'm going to leave, here's my armhole lightly in pencil. I'm going to cut it a little above that in case I've marked it too far in. And then let's take a look. Yep, a little bit more. And that will allow me to go ahead and finish my shoulder line. Now in the back, we always have a dart because you see what a curve this is across the shoulder to the back. Because it's a curve, you have to have a small dart there. Standard dartage there is about 1/2 inch. So where the front dart starts, the back dart will also start. It was 2 3/4 of an inch. And what I'm going to do is mark 2 3/4 from here out, mark over 1/2 inch, and that is my dart. So I'm going to pinch that in. That dart will go down about 3 inches. Come back this way. I'm also going to mark the back armhole slightly and cut that away. I start conservatively, and then I'll keep whittling it away till I get the perfect shape. Now that I have the back shoulder dart marked, and you can see I'm following the green tape that I established earlier, now I can finish this shoulder line. Yep, that's it. You can see all these lines, so that means I have to go a little deeper into the armhole. And probably lift that shoulder up just a little bit. Now I don't want to cut all the way to the line where the seam is, so what I'm going to do is clip so it will bend around the arm rather than creating wrinkles. Good. So that's still high, but we'll get there. And just for the time being, I'm going to secure this down the back. Turn for me again. As I pinned it to her garment in the front, I'm going to pin it in the back. Center it, make sure it's coming right down the center. After this is developed, then I will have her put this on without her normal t-shirt and leggings. That way I can make sure it's a good fit to her actual body. But sorry, this gives her a little bit of ease. You don't want this thing to be skin tight. Okay. I'm going to shape under the arms slightly. See where that side seam is. Good. Excellent. I'll cut some of this excess away so we can see how it's shaping up. You always want to keep your hands under your scissors on, between, keep your scissors on one side, the fabric of course is between, keep your hands behind. That way you're making sure that you're not cutting something you're not supposed to be cutting. Okay, arm out straight for a moment. Great, thank you. So this is skin tight. I want to bring it out maybe a half of an inch on either side. I make my slopers so that they're what I call living slopers. You can live in it. It's not so tight that if you made a garment exactly like the sloper, she couldn't take a breath. So this is a little bit looser than her actual body by about half an inch. So this is the body. I bring out about half an inch, and then I make the waist rather snug. All right, honey. Now turn towards me a little bit. Now what I want to do is create the darts in the waist. When someone has a voluptuous body, sometimes it's nice to create 2 vertical darts because it helps shape under the bust nicely. So I'm going to follow the apex down and put 1 dart in. I'm going to squeeze it in at the waist, but not completely tight, and then come down. This sloper will have about 1/4 of an inch on either side all the way down. So there's 1/4 of an inch on the fold, so that means half of an inch total. Now, you can see there's still some room because I'm going to put a second dart. And you want to develop this dart absolutely to the tip of the apex. Again, when we go to make a garment, those darts will be shortened. But for now, we start right at the very tip. I'm just going to pin this out of the way for right now. After I develop one side, then I will go to the table and develop both sides, sew it together, and put it back on and check it. Turn just a fraction. Okay, the next dart I'm going to come over about 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches. And now you see I'm pinching it in, and you can see it's creating a really nice waist shape, and also it's creating a shape under the bust. Rather than just pointing to the bust, it creates a shape around the bust. Let this out just a fraction so I have a little more fabric to work with right here. And then I'll take it back in if necessary. It's a time-consuming process, but when you get done, you have a master pattern for your client. This can be used for dresses, jackets, pants, you name it. When we get to pants, we'll take a few more measurements. This one also will go straight down. Okay, I can see now it's a little bit big on the shoulder, so I'm going to take that shoulder, pull it up a little bit more by pushing the pins down on the muslin. The neckline is fine. And now I'm going to put darts in the back. So can you turn for me just a little bit? I want these darts to be about where her shoulder blades are. Yeah, it's about here. It's about probably 3.5 inches. So I'm going to pinch in at the waist. You see all this? That's fabulous. The back really shows. It helps to show what a nice shape she has. All right. I want to make sure, since I'm pinning half of it right now, that this doesn't get pulled out of shape. I want it to go straight down center back. Here's the waist. Now I'm going to develop this. As you see, the waist line that I've drawn is parallel to the floor. But most women, their waist actually in the back drops down. So I'll make note of that later, and that will be used as well as the original waistline. Yeah, I don't want to make the bottom area, the hip area, real tight. I want it to be livable. The dart in the back usually goes about 7 inches from the waist. Straight ahead if you would. Okay, now what I see is I could still take in a little bit here in the back, in the waist area. So I'm going to scoop this in a little bit more. Stay right there. Just put your arm out for me. There you go. Okay, now I want to draw where the armhole is. I'm also going to draw where the crease of the armhole is. It's right about there in the front. Turn for the back, please. Now, the back armhole, you don't want to scoop in too much. You want it to go from the shoulder to mid-armhole, rather in a straight line. If you scoop it in too much, the person can't put their arms forward without a pull. I'm going to go over the neckline. Now, I'm very happy with the neckline right here at the side, but the front, yeah, that's good. That's about it right there. Yeah, you don't, I always develop the necklines not to choke the person. Make it a little bit lower in the beginning. So this will be my seam. And if this is the hips, probably 2 inches below the hips will be good for the sloper. So I'll develop this to about here. Okay, now I will take this off, take it to the table, and do what is called truing it up. Make everything work. Make all my vertical lines parallel to the center front and center back. Make all the darts align. Cut all the seam allowances properly. And then put it back together. Try both sides on her. Morgan is very symmetrical. I have worked with Morgan before, and her body is quite symmetrical. So if someone has a symmetrical body, you can develop one side. I usually develop the right side, and then flip it to the left side. In other words, transfer all markings to the left side, cut it out and put it together. Then you may see some small discrepancies. Usually one shoulder is a little bit higher than the other, and you can mark that. If a person is somewhat asymmetrical, which many people are, then you need to develop both sides, and you just need someone who's patient. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to finishing the sloper and putting it back on Morgan.